others watched, but you stepped forward. I admire that. The first to cross my threshold deserves my full attention. Shall we begin? Such soft voices and bright eyes. You've all wandered far to find this place. Rest now, little fireflies. Let the tale unfold. Hey, good evening everyone. How are you doing this week? Are you guys having a good Friday? Did you have a good rest of your week? Scriptsune, your book reading kitsune here. So we're going to be doing 5 chapters. I know last week was crazy and we did 15, but we're going back to the normal thing and doing 5. And that's probably a good thing because earlier today I had the most horrendous nosebleed and I freaked out someone by showing them how thick the nosebleed was. And I was explaining it to my parents. And I'm like, I don't think I've ever had such a thick nosebleed. And then my mom proceeded to offer me, now this is a drink name, don't get on me for the name of the drink, okay? It is called a car bomb. And I'm like, you want me to drink a car bomb and thin out my blood after I just had a nosebleed? And I'm like sitting here thinking like, at the same time, I had a nosebleed, but on the other hand, the nosebleed was so thick, like I don't understand how. It's crazy. It's absolutely loony. But yeah, I'm here. I'm perfectly fine now. Hi, welcome in. You actually showed up at the beginning this time. Aren't you happy you got here at the start? I was just explaining to everyone how my nosebleed earlier was quite the conundrum because my mom immediately offered me alcohol afterwards, and I'm like, that makes no sense. Because on one hand, the blood was super thick. Like, I mean, like, thick. On the other hand, it thins your blood, which would make my nose bleed again. And I'm like, no thank you, maybe next Friday, on Friday the 13th. And if you don't know this about my family, we have what we call opposite luck. And so on Friday the 13th, we actually celebrate rather than, you know, be wary of like bad luck. We're like, this is the day that we have luck. And it's funny because it's like one day right before Valentine's Day. And then my mother's birthday is 2 days after that. So it's pretty interesting. But we will be ending this book on Friday the 13th, which is pretty interesting. So I'm hoping it doesn't have a horrendous ending, because this is the last book of this portion of this series, which is the beginning of the Prophecy series. For those of you who are either new here or have not stepped in for a while, I'm reading Warriors, the Cat series. We are currently on book 6, and we're going to be doing chapter 21 through 25 today. Next week, we'll be doing chapter 26 through 30, and that should finish off this book for the series. And I did make a Discord poll after last week, and everyone wants to have another hand cam stream after this book. So the following Friday, after Friday the 13th, we will have a hand cam stream of me building these cute little building kits that have like little cupcake animals. So that will be interesting. Hello, Sandwich, welcome in. I am Scriptsune, the book reading kitsune, and we have yet to start. We're just talking about like what happened to me today and what we expect to do, what chapters we're reading today, what chapters we're reading next week, and what's going to happen the week after that. But yeah, we have quite a bit, and I mean I have quite a bit of these little building kits. I actually put them, if you can hear that, I put them inside of Ziploc bags because the site I got them from is, you know, typically one of the cheaper websites, but it's the only website that had them available to ship here. So I looked at the reviews and everything to make sure they did show up, and I have them. They are going to be pretty difficult, I think, to make. But that's gonna be pretty cool when I do the hand cam stream. Sandwich asks how you are. I'm doing okay besides earlier today. You just showed up. I was explaining my nosebleed earlier. I had a super thick nosebleed, and I told my parents about it, and my mom proceeded to say, hey, you want some alcohol? And I'm like, that's probably not a good idea, right after I had a nosebleed. So I declined her offer. But yes, welcome in. Thank you for joining us. So we are going to be reading chapter 21 through 25 today. A little snippet of the book for those of you that are new. We had... Let me start off with a little snippet of the entire portion of this series. You have a cat named Rusty. He becomes a apprentice in the clans. There's 4 clans that roam in the forest. He used to be owned by a person, and in the story they call those kitty pets. His name changed from Rusty to Firepaw to Fireheart, and now he's the leader of the clan through much grief and strife. and now his name is Firestar. In this book, we are handling Firestar and the main antagonist of the entire series, Tiger Claw, now Tiger Star, as he is also a leader of another clan. After much betrayal to his clan, which is Thunder Clan, he is now the leader of Shadow Clan. And so there was a dog pack, and Tiger Claw, Tiger Star, had initiated the attack to try and actually drive out all of Thunder Clan in retaliation. And we're at the point where the clans are now forming together, which goes on the little snippet on the back where it has the prophecy. 4 will become 2, lion and tiger will meet in battle, and blood will rule the forest. So the 4 clans are turning to 2 clans. If you looked at the map of your new world, where is the coolest place for civilization to live? Are you talking about the Warriors world, or is it... Oh, hi Wampus, welcome in. Are you talking about the... And also hi Husky. Are you talking... Okay, so if you're talking about the Warriors world, if I was one of the cats, the coolest place to probably live in the current circumstances would actually be the barn. Because every single time Firestar goes over to the barn and meets his old friends, he always sees them plump and full. Like, they always have mice there, they're always well. So it'd probably be the easiest place to have a base and be able to go on adventures and know that you can go back home, not be entrapped into a specific place, but also have plenty of food. Sandwich seems to like the story. Well, thank you, Sandwich. And I hope you guys have a wonderful time listening in, because it is going to get crazy. We are going to be starting on chapter 21. Let me get some water and then I'll go ahead and start reading. Feel free to talk to me at any time. I am capable of chatting and also reading at the same time. Alright. Chapter 21. Firestar woke to see the den floor washed by the pale light of sunrise. Beside him, Sandstorm still slept, the moss stirred by her breathing. Careful not to wake her, Firestar rose, stretched, and padded out into the chilly morning. The clearing was deserted, but almost at once, Whitestorm appeared from the warrior's den. Let me center myself a little bit more. I like to center myself a little bit on the book. I've sent out a dawn patrol, he reported. Brackenfur and Mousefur and Greystripe. I'll tell them to do a quick sweep up the Shadow Clan border and report back to us. Good, mewed Firestar. Would just be like Tiger Star to arrange a meeting at 4 trees, and then mount a raid somewhere else. That's why I'm leaving you in charge of the camp, with as many warriors as I can spare. Take all the strength you need, Whitestorm meowed. We'll be fine. Young Brightheart is shaping up to be a really useful fighter ever since she started training with Cloudtail. And the elders can still raise a few claws, if they're pushed. They'll be pushed before all this is over, Firestar predicted. Thanks, Whitestorm. I know I can rely on you. The White Warrior nodded and disappeared into the den again. Firestar watched him go, then padded across the clearing to the fern tunnel that led to Cinderpelt's den. When he reached the medicine cat's den, he could hear her voice, coming from the cleft in the rock. Sandwich doesn't have a pillow, but a sandwich listens. Well, at least you're enjoying yourself. That's the important part. I just hope that you have a comfortable seat. Juniper berries, marigold leaves, poppy seeds. Looking inside, Firestar saw the small gray she-cat checking the heaps of healing herbs and berries ranged along the wall of the den. "Hi, Cinderpelt," he mewed. "Everything in order?" The medicine cat turned to him with a grave look in her blue eyes. "As much as it will ever be." "You think there'd be definitely a battle?" Firestar asked her. "Have StarClan spoke to you?" Cinderpelt came to join him at the mouth of the den. "No, not a word," she replied. "But common sense says there'll be a battle, Firestar. I don't need an omen from StarClan to tell me that." She was right, Firestar knew. And yet, her words chilled him. With such a momentous meeting ahead, why had there been no sign from StarClan? Had their warrior ancestors abandoned them in their greatest time of need? Too late, Firestar wondered. If he should have traveled to Highstones to share tongues with StarClan. "Do you know why StarClan are silent?" he asked Cinderpelt out loud. The medicine cat shook her head. "But I do know something," she meowed, as if she had read his thoughts. "StarClan haven't forgotten us. They decreed long ago that there should be 4 clans in the forest, and they won't stand by and let Tigerstar change that forever." As Firestar thanked her and turned away to muster his warriors, he wished he shared her faith. A stiff breeze was blowing as Firestar led his warriors up the slope to 4 trees, rippling the grass and carrying the scent of many cats. Nodding in agreement, yes. We know that there's going to be a battle from all the information we've been given in the book. It is very apparent that Fireheart is going to battle Tigerstar, so... Each gust brought a sting of rain from the gray clouds that pushed each other across the sky. At the top of the slope, Firestar paused, crouching in the shelter of the bushes to look down into the clearing. Almost at once, Cloudtear appeared at his side. "Why are we standing about?" he demanded. "Let's get on with it." "Not until I know what's going on," Firestar told him. "For all we know, we could be walking into an ambush." Facing his warriors, he raised his voice so that they all could hear him. "You all know why we are here," he began. "Tigerstar wants us to join his clan, and he won't take no for an answer. I'd like to believe we can get out of this without a fight, but I can't be sure." Imagine the story, but can't because it's a sandwich. Yeah, very astute of you. As he finished speaking, Cloudtear flicked Firestar on the shoulder with his tail, then pointed to the other side of the hollow. Turning, Firestar saw Tallstar approaching from WindClan territory, followed by his warriors. "Good. WindClan are here," he meowed. "Let's go and meet them." Firestar led the way along the lip of the hollow until he came face to face with the long-tailed black and white Tom. The WindClan leader dipped his head in greeting. "Well met, Firestar. This is a black day for the forest." "It is indeed," Firestar agreed. "But our clans will stand for what is right by the warrior code, whatever happens." Firestar was surprised at how many had come with Tallstar, remembering the wounded and devastated cats in the WindClan camp the day before. He had expected only a small group to come to 4 trees. Instead, practically every warrior must have been there. They still showed the scars of the raid on their camp, but their eyes were bright and determined. Firestar recognized his friend, One Whisker, a long wheel showing red along one flank, and Morningflower, her eyes cold with longing to avenge the death of her son. Tigerstar might have a nasty shock, Firestar reflected, to see how many of WindClan's warriors were still ready to fight against him. Taking a deep breath, he meowed. Let's go. Tallstar dipped his head. Lead on, Firestar. Startled at being given such an honor by the older and more experienced leader, Firestar waved his tail to signal the two united clans. Lion Clan, he thought with a rush of pride. This was his destiny. He stalked down the slope through the bushes, all his senses alert for attack.
Why are you so sus?
But he heard nothing except for the rustle of his own warriors following him. The scent of Tiger Clan was still some way off. Thank you for the follow. Maybe you did on purpose, but we won't believe it. Sanders is too ashamed to admit it. It is pretty amusing how you use third person. Definitely fitting, considering I read books. As Firestar led his cats into the clearing beneath the great oaks, the bushes on the opposite side, and I hope you enjoy your stay, parted and Tigerstar stepped out to face him. Blackfoot, Darkstripe, and Leopardstar flanked him like vengeful shadows. The massive tabby eyes gleamed as he spotted Firestar, and the young ThunderClan leader realized that this war was personal for him too. Tigerstar wanted nothing more than to sink his claws and teeth into Firestar's pelt and rip him to pieces. Instead of making Firestar afraid, the knowledge exhilarated him. Let him try, he thought. Greetings, Tigerstar, he meowed coolly. You came then. Not still looking for those prisoners you lost from RiverClan territory? Tigerstar let out a snarl. You regret that day's work, Firestar. Thanks to this sandwich book, he understood quantum metaphysics. Oh no, he's still a sandwich. He still doesn't understand anything. That reminds me of the episode where Rick turns into a pickle in Rick and Morty. Try and make me, Firestar retorted. The Tiger Clan leader did not reply, but waited as more of his followers appeared through the bushes. They were a formidable group, Firestar realized, though some of them bore wounds and claw marks from the raid on WindClan the previous day. His heart began to thump painfully, as he realized that the battle he had feared for so long might be unleashed at any moment. Tigerstar took a pace forwards, his head raised challengingly. Have you thought about my offer? I'm giving you the choice. Join with me now and accept my leadership, or be destroyed. Firestar exchanged a single glance with Tallstar. There was no need for words. They had already decided what their response must be. Firestar spoke for them both. We reject your offer. The forest was never meant to be ruled by one clan, especially not one led by a dishonorable murderer. But it will be. Tigerstar's voice was soft. He didn't even try to defend himself against Firestar's accusation. With or without you, Firestar, it will be. By sunset today, the time of 4 clans will be over. The answer is still no, Firestar meowed. ThunderClan will never submit. Nor will WindClan, added Tallstar. Then your courage is matched only by your stupidity, growled Tigerstar. He paused, his gaze raking the warriors of Wind Clan and Thunder Clan. Firestar heard snarls from the Tiger Clan warriors behind their leader, and forced himself not to flinch away from their glittering eyes and bristling fur. For a few heartbeats, not a cat moved, and Firestar braced himself for Tigerstar's order to attack. Then he heard a choking sound behind him, and a single word gasped out. Tanipaw! Bramblepaw was standing rigid at Firestar's shoulder, staring into the ranks of their enemies. Following his gaze, Firestar spotted the young she-cat standing close beside Oakfur, a Shadow Clan warrior. What is she doing there? That was Brackenfur, thrusting himself forwards to stand at Firestar's other side. Tigerstar did steal her. Steal her? There was a purr in Tigerstar's voice. Not at all. Tanipaw came to us willingly. Firestar didn't know whether to believe him or not. Tanipaw was looking down at the ground, as if she didn't want to meet the eyes of her brother and her former mentor. He had to admit that she didn't look like a prisoner. Instead, she just looked uncomfortable at being the center of attention. Tanipaw, Bramblepaw called. What are you doing? You're a Thunder Clan cat. Come back to us. Firestar winced at the pain in the young cat's voice. He remembered the agony of losing Greystripe when his friend chose to leave and join River Clan. Tanipaw said nothing. No, Bramblepaw, Tigerstar meowed. You come to us. Your sister made the right choice. Tiger Clan will rule over the forest, and you can share our power. Firestar saw Bramblepaw's muscles tense. At last, after all the doubts and suspicions Firestar had felt about him, the young cat was faced with a simple choice. Would he follow his father, or stay loyal to his clan? What do you say? Tigerstar prompted. ThunderClan is finished. There is nothing there for you. Join you? Bramblepaw growled. He paused, swallowing as he fought to control his anger. When he spoke again, his word rang out clearly so that every cat in the clearing could hear him. Join you, he repeated. After everything you've done, I'd rather die. A murmur of approval broke out among the ThunderClan cats. Tigerstar's amber eyes smoldered with rage. Are you sure? He hissed. I won't make the offer twice. Join me now, or you will die. Then at least I'll go to StarClan as a loyal ThunderClan cat, Bramblepaw retorted, his head high. Sandwich thinks he might like cats, then Sandwich thinks he might get eaten by the same cat. Oh my god. No, my cat in particular doesn't like human food, so I guess it depends on the cat and how hungry they are. Firestar felt pride thrilling through him from nose to tail tip. There could be no greater challenge to Tigerstar's power than for his own son to reject him in favor of the clan his father despised. Fool! Tigerstar spat. Stay then and die with these other fools. Firestar braced himself as he waited for his enemy to launch the attack, convinced that battle was upon them. Instead, to his surprise, Blackfoot raised his tail in a signal. The bushes on the opposite slope rustled, and Firestar's eyes widened in shock as more cats emerged into the clearing. He had never seen any of them before. They were skinny, their fur ragged, but he sensed strength in their wiry limbs. The stench of crow food and the thunder path rolled off of them. These were no forest cats. The warriors of ThunderClan and WindClan stared in disbelief as more and more of the strangers padded into the clearing. They fanned out into a semicircle around TigerClan, row after row of them. More cats than Firestar could remember seeing all together in the forest, even at the gathering. "Well," Tigerstar demanded silkily, "are you still sure that you want to stand and fight?" That is the end of chapter 21. Hi! Welcome in. Welcome, welcome. I hope you enjoy the story. We are currently going to chapter 22. We are going up to chapter 25 today. Next week is when we'll be finishing the last 5 chapters and completing the book. Chapter 22. Dismay kept Firestar's paws rooted to the ground as he watched the newcomers approach. He noticed that some of them were wearing collars. "Collars?" Aspar spat behind him, echoing his thoughts. The apprentice's voice was sharp with disgust. "Look at them! They're kitty pets! We won't have any trouble beating them." "Keep quiet," his mentor, Dustpelt, warned quietly, "until we have the full measure of our enemy. We don't know if anything about these cats yet." Thanks, Holy, for checking in. Firestar remained silent until all the strange cats had moved into the clearing and gathered around TigerClan. A huge black and white Tom stepped out of their ranks and went to stand beside Tigerstar. Firestar presumed this was the leader of the newcomers. He was almost as big as Tigerstar himself, and he was muscular and battle-scarred. Even though they wore collars, Firestar knew that these cats were far from being pampered kitty pets. You're thinking about buying the book, but it wouldn't do anything good because you're a sandwich? True. But hey, if you can't flip pages, there's always tablets where you can just allow it to scroll slowly. I do enjoy this series though. Just remember to get the beginning of the prophecies, which is the very first series. That's the series we are currently reading. Behind the black and white warrior appeared a much smaller black cat, who stalked light-footed through the grass to stand on Tigerstar's other side. Firestar could not imagine who he was. He looked more like a medicine cat than a warrior. Firestar could feel every hair in his pelt tingling, and the air tasted thick, as if a storm was about to break. "So, Tigerstar," he meowed, forcing his voice to remain steady. "Do you want to tell us who your new friends are?" "This is BloodClan," Tigerstar announced. "They come from Two Lake Place. I brought them to the forest to persuade you foolish cats to join with me. I knew you wouldn't have sense to agree on your own." The hiss of outrage rippled through ThunderClan and WindClan. Firestar heard Thornclaw whisper, "Remember those rogues we sent to the day I was made a warrior? I bet they came from BloodClan." He'd be right, Firestar thought. Patrol of these rogues from the Two Lake Place, checking out the forest to see what Tigerstar had to offer them. And what exactly had he offered? To share the forest in return for their help in battle? You see, Firestar. Tigerstar's voice was exultant. I am even more powerful than StarClan. For I have changed the clans in the forest from 4 to 2. Tiger Clan and Blood Clan will rule together. Firestar stared at his enemy in alarm. There was no possibility of reasoning with Tigerstar now. His hunger for power had twisted him so that in his mind his own huge figure dominated everything, blotting out even the light of StarClan. No, Tigerstar, he answered quietly. If you want to fight us, let us fight. StarClan will show us who is more powerful. You must be a mouse-brained fool, Tigerstar spat. I was prepared to come here and talk with you today. Just remember that it was you who drove us to this. And when your clanmates are dying around you, they will blame you with their last breath. He swung around to face a mass of cats ranged behind him. Blood Clan, attack! Not a cat moved. Tigerstar's amber eyes widened, and he screeched, Attack! I order you! Still, none of the warriors moved, except for the small black cat who took a pace forwards. He glanced towards Firestar. I am Scourge, the leader of Blood Clan, he meowed, his voice cold and quiet. Tigerstar, my warriors are not yours to command. They will attack when I tell them, and not before. The look Tigerstar gave him was incredulous and glittered with all the hatred he could have ever shown to Firestar. As if he couldn't believe that this scrap of a cat is defying him. Firestar seized his opportunity. He paced forwards until he stood right in front of the two leaders. Behind him, he heard Greystripe hiss, Firestar, be careful! But this was no time for being careful. The very future of the forest was at stake, balanced on the breadth of a hair between Tigerstar's bloodthirsty quest for power and the whims of the unknown Blood Clan. Now Firestar could see that the collar Scourge wore around his neck was studded with teeth. The teeth of dogs and cats' teeth too. Great StarClan! Did they kill their own kind to wear the teeth as trophies? Others of the cats were wearing the same grisly ornaments. Firestar's belly clenched, and his mind reeled with a vision of blood flowing down the sides of the hollow, washing around the cat's paws in a sticky, reeking tide. His terror was not just for himself and his own clan, but for every cat in the forest. As Bluestar had prophesied, had she meant that Blood Clan would rule? Firestar shot a scorching glance at Tigerstar, wanting to express all the hatred he felt for the cat who had brought them to this. But Firestar knew he had to hold onto his self-control if he were to make any impression on the Blood Clan cats. Dipping his head towards their leader, he meowed clearly, so all the cats could hear him. Greetings, Scourge. I am Firestar, leader of ThunderClan. I wish I could say you are welcome in this forest, but you would not believe me if I had, and I wish no lies to you. Unlike your supposed ally here, I am a cat of honor. He flicked his tail towards Tigerstar, trying to put all the contempt he felt into this single gesture. If you believed any promises he made, You are mistaken. Tigerstar told me he had enemies in the forest. There was all the cold of Leaf Bear in the black cat's voice. When Firestar looked into his eyes, it was like gazing into the deep places of the night, unrelieved by the smallest gleam of light from StarClan. Why should I believe you instead of him? Firestar took a breath. This was the chance he had wanted all along. The chance he had missed at the last gathering, when thunder and lightning had interrupted the meeting. At last, he could stand in front of all the clans of the forest and bring Tigerstar's dreadful history into the open. But now, it was not just a matter of tarnishing Tigerstar's reputation, but of saving the whole forest from destruction. Cats of all clans, Firestar began, and especially cats of Blood Clan. You have no need to believe me or disbelieve me. Tigerstar crimes speak for themselves. When he was still a warrior of ThunderClan, he murdered our deputy Redtail, hoping to be made deputy himself. First, Lionheart was chosen as deputy, but when that noble warrior died to fight with ShadowClan, Tigerstar achieved his ambition at last. He paused. A grim silence gripped the whole clearing, broken only by the contemptuous rumble from Tigerstar. Mew away, little kitty pet. It won't change anything. Firestar ignored him. Being deputy wasn't enough, he went on. Tigerstar wanted to be the leader of the clan. He set a trap for Bluestar by the Thunder Path, but my own apprentice strayed into it instead. That's how Cinderpelt came to be with her crippled leg. A shocked murmur swept through the clearing. Except for Blood Clan, they all knew Cinderpelt, and she was popular even with cats of the other clans. Then Tigerstar conspired with Broken Tail, the former leader of ShadowClan, who was ThunderClan's prisoner. Firestar told the listening cats. He brought a pack of rogues into ThunderClan camp and tried to murder Bluestar with his own claws. I stopped him, and when ThunderClan had beaten off the attack, we drove him into exile. As a rogue, he slaughtered yet another one of our warriors, Running Wind. Then before we knew what he was up to, he made himself the leader of ShadowClan. Firestar paused and looked around him. He was not sure how BloodClan and their leader Scourge were taking all this, but he could see that he had the horrified attention of every other cat in the clearing. He steadied himself, wanting to be sure they heard the last, most dreadful part of his story. But Tigerstar still wanted revenge on ThunderClan. 3 moons ago, a pack of dogs got loose in the forest. Tigerstar caught prey for them, then led a trail of dead rabbits between the dog's lair and the ThunderClan camp to lead them to us. He murdered one of our queens, Brindleface, and left her near the camp to give the dogs a taste for cat blood. If we hadn't found out in time to escape, the whole of ThunderClan would have been torn to pieces. Good riddance, Tigerstar growled. As it was, Firestar forced himself to go on. Our leader, Bluestar, died the bravest death of any cat, saving me and all our clan from the pack. He expected yowls of outrage, but only silence greeted him as his story came to an end. The eyes of every cat were fixed on him, stunned with shock. Firestar glanced at Leopardstar, still standing with Blackfoot and Darkstripe a little way behind Tigerstar. The River Clan leader looked horrified. For a few heartbeats, Firestar hoped that she might immediately break her agreement with Tigerstar and withdraw her clan from his leadership, but she remained silent. "This is Tiger Star's history," Firestar meowed urgently. Turning back to Scourge, "It all shows one thing: that he'll do anything for power. If he promised you a share of the forest, don't believe him. He won't give up one paw print, not to you or any cat." Scourge's eyes narrowed. Firestar could see that he was thinking carefully about what he had heard, and hope flared inside him like a tiny flame. "Tigerstar told me what he was planning to do with the dogs when he visited me 2 moons ago." The black cat turned his head so that his gaze rested on the leader of the Shadow Clan. "He did not tell me that his plan failed." "None of that matters now," Tigerstar broke in roughly. "We have an agreement with you, Scourge. Fight beside me now, and you'll have what I offered you." Wonder how you can write on this live stream every Enigma. I don't know. It's really interesting how you can write. "My clan and I fight when I choose," Scourge meowed. To Firestar, he added, "I'll think about what you have said. There will be no battle today." Tigerstar's fur bristled with rage, and his tail lashed from side to side. His muscles bunched as he dropped into a crouch. "Traitor!" he screeched, and leaped at Scourge with claws extended. Watching with horror, Firestar expected to see the smaller cat torn apart. He knew from bitter experience that the strength in Tigerstar's muscles, but Scourge whipped to one side, avoiding Tigerstar as he landed. When the massive tabby turned to face him, Scourge lashed out with his front paws. The pale leaf-bare sun glinted unnaturally on the tips of each talon. Firestar felt his blood run cold. Scourge's claws were reinforced with long, sharpened dog's teeth. One blow to his shoulder unbalanced Tigerstar. He fell on his side, exposing his belly, and Scourge's vicious claws sank into his throat. Blood welled out as the smaller cat ripped him down to the tail with a single slash. A desperate scream of fury erupted from Tigerstar, then broke off with a ghastly choking sound. His body convulsed, limbs jerking and tail flailing. For a heartbeat, a stillness settled over him, and Firestar knew he was falling into the trance of a leader who loses a life. To wake after a little while restored to strength, and with the rest of his lives intact. But not even StarClan could heal this terrible wound. Scourge took a step back and watched coldly as Tigerstar's body convulsed again. The dark red blood kept on flowing, spreading across the ground in a ceaseless tide. Tigerstar let out another shriek. Firestar wanted to cover his ears so he didn't have to listen anymore, but he was frozen to the spot. Again, the massive tabby's body grew still for a heartbeat. But again, the wound was too terrible to yield to the healing trance. Another spasm seized Tigerstar's body. His claws tore up clumps of grass in his agony, while his screeches turned from fury to terror. "He's dying 9 times, Firestar realized. "Oh, StarClan, no." It was a death he would not have wished on any cat, not even Tigerstar, and he thought it would never be over. When they saw what was happening to the leader they had believed to be invincible, Horrified yowling came from the warriors of Tiger Clan. Firestar realized that they were all breaking rank. Several cats pushed roughly past him in their mad haste to flee from the clearing. From somewhere behind him, he heard Tallstar call out to his own warriors, "Wait! Hold the line!" Firestar knew he did not have to give his own warriors the same order. They would stand with him to the end. Tigerstar was panting now, his fighting for life exhausting him. Firestar caught a glimpse of his amber eyes, glazed with pain and fear and hatred. Then his body gave one last jerk and lay still. Tigerstar was dead. Frozen in disbelief, Firestar stared down at the lifeless body. His oldest enemy, the most dangerous cat in the forest, the cat he had expected to fight to the death, gone, just like that. Firestar was left facing Scourge. The small black cat looked unmoved. Now Firestar knew not to underestimate him due to his size. He knew he had never faced a cat more dangerous than this, who in a single blow could destroy a leader with 9 lives. Behind Scourge, the cats of Blood Clan moved forward, as if they were about to attack, and Firestar shot a glance at his own warriors to make sure they were ready. They stood in a line with the warriors of Wind Clan, and Firestar braced himself to lead forwards with them. But when he looked back at the enemy, Scourge raised one blood-soaked paw. The cats behind him stopped. You see what happens to cats who defy Blood Clan. The black cat warned calmly. Your friend here. He gave a contemptuous flick with his tail towards Tigerstar's motionless body. Thought he could control us. He was wrong. We don't want to control you, Firestar rasped. All we want is to lead our lives in peace. We're sorry that Tigerstar brought you here with lies. Please feel free to hunt before you go home. He thinks this fox is very beautiful. He wonders if he'll turn out like that when he grows up, but no, he's a sandwich. Well, thank you. I actually made this model, so I am proud of it. Go home? Scourge widened his eyes in scornful disbelief. We're not going anywhere, forest fool. In the town where we come from, there are many, many cats, and live prey is scarce. Here in the forest, we don't need to depend on two-legged rubbish for our food. His gaze slid past Firestar to where ThunderClan and WindClan stood ready for battle. We are taking over this territory now, he went on. I shall rule the forest, as well as the town. But I understand that you may need some time to reflect on this. You have 3 days to leave, or meet my clan in battle. I shall wait for your decision at dawn on the 4th day. That is the end of chapter 22. Before we continue, I am going to take a short break, so I will be right back. I'm back. Drink some water before we continue. Oh, thanks for the bow, Holy. Sandwich would like to speak, but he can't. Is it because he's a sandwich or because he's embarrassed? We'll probably never know. I just hydrated! Okay. I'll drink more water, Holy. And posture check? Ugh. You're gonna make me sit up straight. How dare you? Sitting up straight is not what a fox does. Right? Okay. Chapter 23. Firestar stared, speechless with shock. A scourge turned away and disappeared through the lines of his own warriors. Silently, the Cat of Blood clan fell in behind him and vanished into the bushes with scarcely a rustle. Firestar tracked their departure through the movement of branches up the side of the hollow, and then they were gone. Firestar looked down at the body of Tigerstar. The huge tabby's legs were splayed, and his teeth bared in the last snarl of defiance at death. The amber eyes that had smoldered with savage ambition were blank and sightless. Faced with death of his enemy, Firestar knew he should feel triumphant. He had known for a long time now that the only hope for peace in the forest was the death of Tigerstar. But Firestar had always expected that he would be the cat that struck his enemy down, risking his own life in combat with the massive warrior. Instead, now that Tigerstar lay at his paws, staining them with his own blood, he found himself struggling with the faintest feeling of all: grief. Tigerstar had received from StarClan all the strength, skill, and intelligence to make himself truly great, a legend among cats. But he had misused his gifts, murdered and lied and plotted revenge, until his ambition brought him to this terrible end. And nothing had been solved. The fate of every clan still hung in the balance, and the tide of blood still flowed. "We need your strength, Tigerstar," Firestar whispered. "Just as we need every cat who can fight to drive BloodClan out of the forest." He became aware that another cat was standing beside him, and he turned his head to see Greystripe. The rest of ThunderClan cats were still drawn up in their battle lines at the far side of the clearing, with Tallstar and the WindClan warriors beside them. It's 6 a.m. Oh my god. Please at least try to get some sleep in your bed. You don't want to crick your neck, and trust me, it hurts when you crick your neck. But if you do fall asleep, have a good sleep. Firestar? Greystripe's yellow eyes were huge with fear. "Are you okay?" Firestar shook himself. "I will be. Don't worry." "Greystripe, come on. I need to talk to Tallstar." As they turned away, Greystripe glanced down at the dead ShadowClan leader, and a shudder passed through him. "I never want to see anything like that again," he meowed hoarsely. Night shift Sandwich. Sandwich is doing great. Sandwich is going to fall asleep on the live stream. If you're doing a night shift, I'm concerned. Don't fall asleep on the job. Just make sure you get home safely and get proper eats. If we don't get rid of Scourge, we probably will, Firestar replied. He paced slowly back towards the Wind Clan leader, using the time it took to cross the clearing to think. When he stood in front of Tallstar, he saw his own shock reflected in the eyes of the older cat. I can't believe what we'd just seen, said the Wind Clan leader. 9 lives gone. Just like that. Firestar nodded. No cat would blame you if you took your clan and left the forest to find another place to live. He did not doubt Tallstar's courage, but he felt unable to assume that he would stay to fight such a terrible enemy. Tallstar stiffened and his neck fur bristled. Wind Clan was driven from this forest once, he hissed. Never again. Our territory is ours, and we will fight for it. Is ThunderClan with us? Even before Firestar replied, he heard a murmuring from his own cats. Defiance and determination mingled together. We'll fight, he promised, and we'll be the proud to stand side by side with Wind Clan. The two leaders looked into each other's eyes. For a few heartbeats, Firestar could see that Tallstar shared the fear neither of them had spoken. That their resolve to fighting the invading cats could mean the destruction of both their clans. We'll go now and prepare ourselves, Tallstar meowed at last. And we'll meet you here again in 3 days, at dawn. At dawn, Firestar echoed. And may StarClan be with us all. Sandwich and French Sandwich got home at 5 a.m. Sandwich watching the live stream, he might even fall asleep even though he's a sandwich. I mean, even sandwiches get sleepy, right? Just don't get nibbled on by some cats, okay? He watched the Wind Clan cats retreat up the slope towards their territory before he turned on his own warriors. They looked subdued, eyes wide with apprehension, yet Firestar knew that none of them would flinch from the upcoming battle. They had followed him to 4 trees, expecting to fight, and even though their enemies were more terrible than any cat could have imagined, they would still defy them to keep the forest that they loved. I'm proud of you all, Firestar mewed quietly. If any cats can drive out Blood Clan, you can. Sandstorm padded over to him and pressed her muzzle against his shoulder. With you to lead us, we'll do anything, she promised. For a moment, Firestar felt too overwhelmed to speak. Far from lifting his spirits, his warrior's expectation weighed on him heavily. Let's get back to camp. He managed to meow at last. We have a lot to do, Greystripe, Cloudtail, scout ahead. I wouldn't put it past Scourge to lay an ambush for us. The 2 warriors bounded away in the direction of ThunderClan camp. A few moments later, Firestar led the rest of the cats after them, putting Dustpelt at the rear to keep watch. As they headed swiftly through the forest, Firestar thought that he could feel Scourge's cold, malign eyes follow their footsteps. Once before, when the dog pack was loose, Firestar had felt like prey in the forest, and now his enemy had a face all more terrible for being one of his own kind. But if the Blood Clan leader was watching them, he gave no sign of it, and the ThunderClan warriors reached the ravine unchallenged. Firestar noticed that Bramblepaw had begun to lag behind, his tail trailing on the ground. What's wrong? He asked gently. Bramblepaw raised his eyes to his mentor's, and Firestar was shocked by the depths of sick horror in his gaze. I thought I hated my father, he mewed quietly. I didn't want to join his clan, but I didn't want him to die like that. I know. Firestar pressed his muzzle against the young cat's side. But it's over now, and you're free from him. Bramblepaw turned his head away. I don't think I'll ever be free from him, he murmured. Even now that he's dead, no cat will forget that I'm his son. And what about Tawny Paw? His voice choked. How could she choose to follow him? I don't know. Firestar understood how much pain Tawny Paw's betrayal must have caused her brother. But if we come through this, I promise that we'll find a way of talking to her. Does that mean you'll let her come back to ThunderClan? I can't be sure of anything, Firestar admitted. We don't even know if she wants to come back. But I'll give her a fair hearing and do what I can for her. Thank you, Firestar. Bramblepaw's voice was tired and defeated. I suppose that's more than she deserves. He dipped his head to his mentor and padded on towards the gorse tunnel. Firestar gazed down from the high rock as the cats of ThunderClan emerged from their dens and gathered below him. You could see from their horror-struck expressions that the news of BloodClan's threat and Tigerstar's terrible death had already spread throughout the camp. He knew that it was his duty to give them hope and courage, but he did not know if he could. When he had so little for himself. The sun was going down, and the rock cast a long shadow across the sandy floor of the clearing. The scarlet rays of the dying sun made it too easy for Firestar to imagine that the camp was already washed in blood. He wondered if it wasn't a sign from StarClan that all his friends, all his warriors would be destroyed. After all, the warrior ancestors had no sign of anger when Scourge had ripped Tigerstar's 9 lives out of him and let all his lifeblood run into the sacred ground at Horde Trees. No, Firestar told himself. To think like that was to despair and do nothing. He had to go on believing that BloodClan could be defeated. Clearing his throat, he began to speak. Cats of ThunderClan, you have heard of the threat that faces us. BloodClan has come from Two Lake Place and laid claim to the forest. They want us to run away and let them take over without a fight. But 3 days from now, we will stand together with WindClan and make BloodClan fight for every mouse length of the forest. In the clearing below, Cloudtail leaped to his paws and yowled agreement. Several cats echoed him, but Firestar could see that some glanced doubtfully at one another, as if they were not sure they had a chance of surviving against BloodClan and their fearsome leader. What about RiverClan and ShadowClan? Asked Whitestorm. Will they fight? And if they do, which side will they be on? That's a good question, Firestar replied, and I don't know the answer. The TigerClan warriors ran away when Tigerstar died. And we need to know where they went, Whitestorm meowed. I could slip over into RiverClan territory to see, suggested Mistyfoot. getting up from where she sat at the base of the rock. I know all the best places to hide. No, Firestar ordered. You're in more danger over there than any cat. I don't know if Tiger Clan are still persecuting half-clan cats. And I don't want to lose you. Thunder Clan needs you. For a moment, Mistyfoot looked as if she would like to argue. But she dipped her head and sat down again, as Whitestorm yelled. We can find out most of what we need from border patrols. Firestar nodded. That's your job, Whitestorm. I want extra patrols along the Shadow Clan and River Clan borders. Their main task is to find out what the other clans are doing. But they can keep their eyes open for Blood Clan as well. If Scourge decides to attack before the 3 days are up, I don't want to be caught napping. Whitestorm flicked his tail in agreement. Consider it done. Firestar could see his deputy's calm efficiency had encouraged the rest of the clan, and he went on quickly before their fears could return. Next, every cat in the clan must be prepared. I need to retake that sentence after I drink some water. My tongue was literally catching and I was like making it difficult to say the word. It happens after about like halfway into the book. I will start just catching on myself. Hang on a second. I'm gonna readjust the microphone too. Because the microphone likes to slip down also. There we go. Okay, where was I? Next, every cat in the clan must be prepared to fight. Even the kits? That was Cyril Kit, springing eagerly to her paws. Can we be in the battle? Can we be apprentices? In spite of the danger they were in, Firestar suppressed a purr of amusement. No, you're too young to be apprentices, he told Cyril Kit gently, and I can't take you into battle. But if Blood Clan win, they'll come here. And you'll need to be able to defend yourselves. Sandstorm, will you be responsible for training the kits? I will, Firestar. Sandstorm's green eyes flashed with approval at Sorrel Kit and her litter mates. Soot Kit and Rain Kit, who had scrambled up to stand beside their sister. They'll be able to give Blood Clan a nasty surprise by the time I've finished with them. What about Brightheart? Cloudtail called. Her fighting moves are coming along well. I want to fight in the battle, Brightheart mewed determinedly. Can I, Firestar? Firestar hesitated. Brightheart was stronger now, and she had been training hard with Cloudtail. I'll think about it, he promised. Are you ready for an assessment? Brightheart nodded. Anytime, Firestar. We'll fight with you too. Mistyfoot put in from where she sat, near the base of the rock. Featherpaw and Stormpaw, sitting beside her, straightened up and looked determined. We're all strong enough thanks to you. Good. As for the rest of you. Firestar's gaze swept the clearing. Warriors, apprentices, and elders. You have 3 days to prepare. Graystripe, will you supervise the training program? His friend's eyes lit up, and his ears pricked. No problem, Firestar. Get a couple of the others to help you, and rotate the training sessions so that Whitestorm has enough cats for his patrols and for hunting. Glancing around, he spotted the medicine cat sitting near the fern tunnel that led to a den. Cinderpelt, are you ready to look after the wounded? Privately, Firestar knew there was no need to ask. He had never known Cinderpelt not to be ready, but he knew it would reassure the other cats to hear her say so out loud. The look Cinderpelt gave him showed that she understood. "Everything's prepared," she replied. "But there'll be a lot to do once the fighting starts. If you could let me have an apprentice to help, that would be great." Of course. Firestar wondered which apprentice to choose. His gaze rested on Fernpaw. He remembered her gentleness and sensitivity to the other cat's injuries. "You can have Fernpaw," he announced, and saw Despelt flash him a relieved look. "Fernpaw, is that okay with you?" The gray she-cat dipped her head in assent. For a moment later, Firestar wondered if he had forgotten anything. But he couldn't think what else they could do to prepare for what lay ahead. Gazing down at his clan, their shapes beginning to melt into twilight, he took a deep breath. "Now eat well and get a good night's sleep," he ordered. "Tomorrow we'll begin. And in 3 days, we'll be ready to show Scourge and his clan that our forest will never be theirs for the taking." That was the end of chapter 23. Chapter 24. When Firestar emerged from his den the following morning, the camp was already full of activity. Mousefur was leaving at the head of the patrol. Sandstorm was rounding up Willowpelt's 3 kids, who bounced around her in wild excitement as she herded them towards the Gorse Tunnel on their way to the training hollow. Mistyfoot and the 2 RiverClan apprentices followed them. Dragonfur passed them at the entrance to the camp, a piece of fresh kill in his jaws. Firestar spotted Whitestorm with Bramblepaw and Ashpaw beside the thorn wall that surrounded the camp, and padded across to join them. The White Warrior came to meet him. "I'm getting these two to inspect the defenses and patch any gaps," he meowed. "If Blood Clan get this far," he stopped, his blue eyes worried. "Good idea." Firestar suppressed a shiver at the thought of Blood Clan breaking into the camp. He turned sharply at the sight of movement in the Gorse Tunnel and flashed a glance of astonishment at Whitestorm as Ravenpaw appeared, followed by Barley. The black and white loner had never been to the ThunderClan camp before. Leaving his deputy to finish instructing the apprentices, Firestar padded towards them. Ravenpaw hurried forwards confidently, but Barley lagged behind, glancing warily around, as if he wasn't sure he was welcome. "We have to talk to you," Ravenpaw blurted out. "Last night, we met one Whisker on the border of his territory, and he told us about Scourge and Blood Clan." The raven-colored fur on his shoulders bristled. "We want to help, but more important, Barley has some information for you." Firestar dipped his head in greeting. "It's good to see you both," he meowed, "and we're grateful for any help we can get. Perhaps you'd better come to my den." Barley relaxed at Firestar's friendly greeting, and the 2 loners followed Firestar to the hollow beneath the high rock. Early morning sunshine slanted through the entrance into the peaceful den. Firestar could almost forget the threat from Scourge and his bloodthirsty followers. But the serious expressions of his visitors reminded him all too clearly of the shadow over the future of the forest. "What is it?" he prompted, once the 2 loners were settled. Ravenpaw was gazing around him with an almost awestruck look. Firestar guessed he was remembering Bluestar, and maybe wondering at how the apprentice who had trained with him had come to take the former leader's place. Barley, however, looked uneasy, crouching with his paws tucked under him as he began to speak. I was born in Two Lake Place, he began quietly. I know too much about Scourge and his warriors. I suppose you could say I was once a member of Blood Clan. Firestar's interest quickened. Go on. The first thing I remember is playing with my littermates on a patch of waste ground, Barley explained. Our mother taught us to hunt and find food among Two Lake rubbish. Later on, she showed us how to defend ourselves. Your mother mentored you? Firestar asked, surprised. All of you? Barley nodded. Blood Clan doesn't have a proper system of mentors and apprentices. It's not a clan at all in the way you forest cats understand it. Most cats listen to Scourge because he's the strongest and the most vicious. Bone is a kind of deputy, and so far as he carries out Scourge's dirty work. Bone? Fireheart asked. Is that a big black and white cat who was there at Four Trees? That sounds like him, yes. The Lona's voice was filled with disgust. He's almost as bad as Scourge. Any cats who don't do as they're told are chased off. If they're lucky, or more likely killed. Barley shrugged. A she-cat's mate will probably hunt for her while she's nursing her kits, he mewed. Even Scourge realizes that if there are no kits, sooner or later, there's no clan. But elders or cats who are sick or injured, well, they're left to fend for themselves. It's kill or be killed, hunt or starve. There's no room for weakness. Firestar felt every hair on his pelt bristle at the thought of a clan that did not care for the cats who were in need. The cats who had given good service were allowed to die if they could not care for themselves. Then why does any cat follow Scourge? He burst out. Some of them enjoy killing. Barley's tone was cold and his eyes were bleak, staring at something Firestar could not see. And others are too scared to do anything else. You can't lead your own life in Two Lake Place if you're not a kitty pet with a two-leg nest to go to. Either you're with Scourge or against him, and the cats who are against him don't last long. Ravenpaw shifted closer to his friend and pressed his muzzle comfortingly against his flank. That's why Barley laughed, he meowed. Tell Firestar about it, Barley. There's nothing much to tell, Barley flinched, shrinking from some dark memory. I couldn't bear what Scourge was doing, so one night I slipped away. I was terrified that Scourge or his warriors would catch me, but I reached the edge of Two Lake Place and crossed the Thunderpath. I scented cats in the forest, but at the time I thought they would just be like Scourge and his lot, so I kept away from them. And finally I came to the farm, where it seemed I could live unchallenged. The two legs there leave me alone in peace. They have no use for their mice. He fell silent while Firestar thought rapidly. Barley's words confirmed what he had already known, that Scourge was a violent and dangerous enemy. Just a random thing dropping behind me. I was like, what the hell was that? It's okay, it's just like a box of little clips that fell. I'll pick it up later. Scourge must have weaknesses, he meowed to Barley. There must be some way of defeating him. Barley met his eyes and leaned towards Firestar. His one great strength is his one great weakness, he replied. Scourge and his warriors don't believe in StarClan. Firestar wondered what he meant. Cloudtail had no belief in StarClan, but he was still a loyal ThunderClan cat. What was Barley trying to say to him? BloodClan has no medicine cat, Barley went on. I've already told you, they don't care for the sick. And if they don't believe in StarClan, there aren't any signs that could be interpreted. Then, they don't follow the warrior code? That had been a stupid question, Firestar realized as soon as the words were out. Everything Barley had told him, everything he had seen for himself, the way Scourge and his cats behaved, confirmed that. And you're telling me that's a weakness? All it means is that they can do as they like, with no code of honor to stop them. That's true, Barley admitted. But think, Firestar. Without the warrior code, you might just be as bloodthirsty as Scourge. You might even be better at fighting him. But without the belief in StarClan, what are you then? He met Firestar's eyes steadily. Firestar's head reeled. After what Barley had told him, he dreaded BloodClan even more. And yet, somewhere in his mind, there was a faint spark of hope. As if StarClan were trying to tell him something that he couldn't understand, or not yet. Thank you, Barley, he meowed. I'll think about what you've told me, and I won't forget that you tried to help us. That's not all we'll do. Ravenpaw rose to his paws. One Whisker told us that you're meeting Scourge in battle in 3 days. 2 days now. When you do, we'll both be with you. Firestar stared at him, mouth open. But you're loners, he began. It's not your quarrel. Come on, Firestar, Barley mewed. If Scourge and his gang take over the forest, how long do you think we would last? Wouldn't take them a quarter moon to find our barn and all the plump mice. We'd have the choice of getting out or be killed. We'd rather fight with our friends, Ravenpaw added quietly. Thank you. Firestar felt humbled by the depth of loyalty the two loners were showing to him. All the clans will honor you. Barley snorted. I don't know about that. All I want is a quiet life. But I won't get it until BloodClan is dealt with. None of us will. Firestar's ears twitched in agreement. There's no hope for any of us while Scourge is in the forest. Firestar had to say goodbye to Ravenpaw and Barley, and was headed for the Sandy Hollow to check up on the training program, when he spotted Longtail and Frostfur leaping down the ravine. Firestar paused and waited for them. Any news? He asked. Longtail nodded. We've been along the ShadowClan border as far as 4 trees, he reported. There's a reek of BloodClan coming from ShadowClan territory. You get the foul stink in your nose even from across the Thunder Path. They must be hiding out over there, Frostfur added. That makes sense. Firestar meowed, thoughtfully. But where has ShadowClan gone? I was coming to that. Longtail's eyes were wide with excitement. We picked up their scent at 4 trees. The scent of many cats traveling in the same direction. I believe they crossed into RiverClan territory. So they went to their allies in RiverClan, Firestar mused. He wondered what sort of welcome they would get Would Leopardstar try to regain her old authority now that Tigerstar was dead? Firestar shrugged. He had problems enough of his own without worrying about Leopardstar's. Thanks, Longtail, he meowed. We needed to know that. Go and get something to eat. With a nod of acknowledgement, Longtail led the way into the gorse tunnel, with Phosphor close behind him. Firestar stood watching them go, and when the tip of Phosphor's tail had vanished, he went on to watch his cats training. Graystripe was standing on a jutting slab of rock, overlooking the apprentices. He pricked his ears in greeting as Firestar came to join them. How's it going? Could be better, Graystripe replied. If Squirt could see this, he'd bolt straight back to Two Lake Place with his tail between his legs. The Grey Warrior was wearing a look of stubborn determination that Firestar remembered from the days of his forbidden relationship with Silverstream. Briefly, he wished that he could tell Graystripe about seeing Silverstream in his dream at the Moonstone. But it wouldn't help his friend's grief. The beautiful she-cat was still dead, and Firestar hoped it would be a long time before Graystripe joined her in the ranks of StarClan. At any rate, Graystripe went on, for the best fighting force this forest has ever seen. His eyes widened as his gaze fell on a mock battle between Bramblepaw and Thornclaw. Hang on a minute. I need to give Bramblepaw a tip about his clawing action. He leaped down from the rock and bounded across the hollow, leaving Firestar to look around. Closest to him, Speckletail and Small Ear were stalking around each other, waiting for a chance to spring. Sandstorm was instructing Willowpelt's 3 kids on the other side of the hollow. Firestar patted down to watch, and he heard her meowing. Okay, I'm a Blood Clan warrior, and I've just broken into your camp. What are you going to do? The last word became a screech, as Sorokit pounced and bit down hard on her tail. Sandstorm spun around. One forepaw raised with claws sheathed, but before she could bat Sorokit away, Sootkit and Rainkit jumped on her from behind. The ginger she-cat vanished under a writhing mass of kits. By the time Firestar reached her, she was struggling free of them, her green eyes alight with laughter. Well done, she meowed. If I really was from Blood Clan, I'd be running scared by now. Turning to Firestar, she added, Hi there. Did you see these 3? In a few moons, they'll make great warriors. I'm sure they will, Firestar mewed. You're doing very well, he praised them. And no cat could teach you better than Sandstorm. I want Sandstorm to be my mentor when I'm an apprentice, Soulkit meowed. Can she, Firestar? No, I want her, Kit protested. Rainkit added, No, I do. Shaking her head, Sandstorm let out a meow of laughter. Firestar will decide your mentors, she told the kids, and let him see you practice those defensive moves. Firestar watched while the kids scuffled together, pretending to attack and defend themselves. Even though they were excited, they managed to remember what Sandstorm had taught them, dodging expertly or dashing in to give their mock attacker a quick nip. They're good, Sandstorm commented quietly, especially that little sorrel kid. With a sidelong glance at Firestar, she added, If you asked me to mentor her, I wouldn't say no. Just between you and me, she's yours when the time comes, Firestar promised, blinking gently at her. Even though he and Sandstorm, the kits and all the clan were standing on the brink of disaster, Firestar could still not suppress A burst of pride and hope. Pressing his muzzle against Sandstorm's side, he murmured, "We'll win the battle. I have to believe that." Sandstorm did not reply in words, but the look she gave him said everything. Leaving her to go on with the lesson, Firestar crossed the hollow to the far side, where Cloudtail and Brightheart were training with Ashpaw and Dustpelt. Brightheart had just bowled over Dustpelt. He got up, spitting out sand, and meowed, "I never saw that move coming. Show me again." Brightheart dropped into a crouch, but relaxed a moment later when she saw Firestar. Cloudtail padded over to him, his tail held high. "Did you see that?" he asked proudly. "Brightheart fights really well now." "Carry on," Firestar prompted her. "This looks interesting." Brightheart flashed him a nervous look from her one good eye, then turned back to concentrate. Dustpelt was trying to creep up on her blind side, but she weaved back and forth, keeping him in view the whole time. When he sprang, she slipped under his outstretched paws and hit his back legs to roll him onto the ground again. "I see why you're called Dustpelt," Cloudtail joked as the brown warrior got up again, shaking his fur. "Well done, Brightheart," Firestar called. He twitched his ears to draw Cloudtail a little way away. "I hoped you'd be here," he meowed quietly. "I'm going to see Princess, and I thought you might want to come too." Cloudtail's ears pricked. "Are you going to warn her?" "Yes. With BloodClan on the prowl, she should know of the danger. I know she doesn't often go into the forest, but even so." "I'll be right with you," Cloudtail meowed, padding back for a word with Brightheart. A moment later, the two cats were heading for Tall Pines. Firestar called goodbye to Greystripe as they left the hollow. The pale sunlight of Leafbear fell on the ash that still remained from the fire. The few plants that had returned were dry and shriveled, and there was neither sound nor scent of prey. This Leafbear would have been hard enough, Firestar reflected, without the extra trouble from BloodClan. When they reached the two-leg nest where Princess lived, Firestar was relieved to see the pretty tabby she-cat sitting on the garden fence. She let out a thrill of welcome as he raced across the open ground at the edge of forest and leaped up on the fence beside her. Cloudtail followed him in a couple of heartbeats. "Fireheart!" Princess exclaimed, pressing her muzzle against his flank. "And Cloudtail! It's so good to see you both. Are you well?" "Yes, we're fine," Firestar replied. "He's clan leader now," Cloudtail put in. "We have to call him Firestar." "Clan leader? That's wonderful!" Princess let out a deep, delighted purr. Firestar knew she was proud of him even though she had no real understanding of what that meant. Either the grief of Bluestar's death, or the heavy weight of responsibility that went with the leadership. "I'm so pleased for you," Princess went on. "But you're both very thin," she added doubtfully, drawing back to inspect her brother and her son. "Are you eating properly?" It was hard to answer that question. Firestar and all the clan cats were used to feeling hungry in this hard Leafbear, but Princess had no way of knowing how scarce prey was. Not when her two legs fed her the same kitty pet food every day. "We're doing well enough," Cloudtail repeated impatiently. Before Firestar could reply, "We came to tell you to stay out of the forest. There are evil cats around." Firestar flashed an irritated look at his hot-headed kin. He would have tried to find a gentler way of warning Princess, Cats from Tule Place have come into the forest, he explained, pressing himself comfortingly against Princess's side. They're fierce creatures, but they should leave you alone. I've seen them slinking through the trees, Princess admitted. Her voice hushed. I've heard the stories about them. Apparently they even killed dogs and other cats. The tales were true, Firestar reflected, remembering the teeth studding Scourge's collar. Before very long, there would be more deaths to Scourge's name. All good storytellers exaggerate, he told Princess, hoping he sounded convincing. You don't need to worry, but it would be best if you stayed in your own garden. Princess held his gaze steadily, and Firestar realized that for once, she wasn't deceived by his light-hearted tone. I'll do that, she promised. I'll warn the other house cats. Good, Cloudtail meowed. Don't worry about a thing. We'll get rid of BloodClan. BloodClan? Princess echoed, and a shiver passed through her. Firestar, you're in danger, aren't you? Firestar nodded, suddenly unwilling to treat her like a soft kitty pet who couldn't cope with the truth. Yes, he replied. BloodClan have given us 3 days to get out of the forest. We don't intend to leave, so that means we must fight them. Princess went on, giving him that long, thoughtful look. The tip of her tail swept around and touched a scar on his flank. An old wound from a battle so long ago that he had forgotten which one it was. Firestar had a sudden vision of how he must appear to her, gaunt and ragged, in spite of his lean muscles. His battle-marked pelt, a constant reminder of the harshness of his forest life. I know you'll do your best, she mewed quietly. The clan couldn't have a better leader. I hope you're right, Firestar meowed. This is the worst threat to the clan that we've ever had to face. And you'll come through it, I know you will. Princess rasped her tongue over his ear and pressed close to him. Firestar smelled her fierce scent, but she stayed calm, and her gentle features were unusually serious. Come back safely, she whispered. Please, Firestar. That was the end of chapter 24. I'm gonna take another quick break, then we'll finish off the stream with chapter 25. I'll be right back. I see Holy is misbehaving, you sussy baka. What did you do? And, wow, I completely forgot that I have to remove that. Ah, I'm gonna have to make a note now. Let me write it down. Let's see. Remove, vanish, command, stream elements. Haha, now I wrote it down. You sussy baka. No! I know, you love your vanish command, and you just thought of doing it in front of me. Okay. Well, you've had your fun, Holy. You probably get to have that fun until the end of the stream, because I'm not going to do it until the end of the stream. This is why no, you smell, you stinky baka. Yeah, see, now you're abusing it, you sussy baka. Okay. Last chapter for the stream, you guys. Sure you didn't. Joke's on you, I have the VOD, and it shows up in chat. Chapter 25. After they said goodbye to Princess, Cloudtail went off to hunt, leaving Firestar to return to the camp alone. Twilight was gathering by the time he reached the ravine, and he scented Whitestorm before he spotted the pale warrior ahead of him. Firestar caught up to him just before he reached the gorse tunnel. He had a vole clamped in his jaws and set it down when he saw Firestar. I was hoping for a word with you, began, without even waiting for a greeting. And it's best out here, where no other cat will overhear us. Firestar's heart lurched. What's the matter? Has something gone wrong? You mean apart from Scourge? The older warrior meowed, wildly. He settled himself on a flat rock and beckoned his tail for Firestar to join him. No, nothing's wrong. The patrols and the training are going well. But I keep asking myself, have we really thought about what we're doing? Firestar stared at him. What do you mean? The ThunderClan deputy took a deep, painful breath. Scourge and his clan outnumber us by many, even with WindClan fighting on our side. I know our warriors will fight to the last drop of blood to save the forest, but perhaps the price will be too high. Are you saying we should give in? Firestar's voice sharpened. He had never expected to hear advice like this from his deputy. If Whitestorm's courage hadn't been beyond question, he would have said it was a speech of a coward. Leave the forest? I don't know. Whitestorm sounded tired, and Firestar was suddenly reminded of his age. Things are changing. No cat can deny that. Perhaps it's time to move on. There must be territory beyond the high stones. We could find another place. Never! Firestar interrupted. The forest is ours. You're young. Whitestorm looked solemnly at him. You would see it that way, but cats are going to die, Firestar. I know. All day, Firestar had kept busy, encouraging his warriors and himself with thoughts of a victory over Scourge. Now, Whitestorm was forcing him to face the fact that even if they won, it would be at a terrible cost. ThunderClan might drive the invading cats from the forest, and still be left with a few survivors, as weakened as if they had been defeated. We must go on, he meowed. We can't turn tail and run like mice. You're right, Whitestorm, I know you are. But what other choice do we have? It can't be the will of StarClan for us to leave the forest. Whitestorm nodded. I thought you would say that. Well, I've told you what I think. That's what a deputy's for. I'm grateful for it, Whitestorm. The white warrior rose to his paws, turned towards his role, and then glanced back at Firestar. I've never had the kind of ambition that drove Tigerstar, or you. Hear me out. I've never wanted to be leader, but I'm particularly glad I'm not leader now. No sane cat would envy you, the decisions you have to make. Firestar blinked, not knowing what to say. All I hope for, Whitestorm went on, is that I'll fight my hardest when the time comes. A shadow of uncertainty crossed his face, and Firestar realized that many cats would have joined the elders by Whitestorm's age. It would be natural for him to fear that his fighting strength might fail. I know you will, he agreed. There's no nobler warrior in the whole forest. Whitestorm held his gaze for a long moment, saying nothing. Then he picked up his bowl and padded into the camp. Firestar stayed on the rock. Whitestorm's words had disturbed him, and he was suddenly reluctant to go back into camp and settle in his shadowy den under the high rock. He knew he wouldn't be able to sleep. After a few moments, listening to the soft sounds of the gathering night, Firestar rose and headed back up the ravine. Faint red streaks showed where the sun had gone down, but overhead the sky was dark, and a few early warriors of StarClan looked down at him. Firestar slipped silently through the undergrowth. It was some time before he realized that his paws were taking him towards sunning rocks. By the time he reached the edge of the trees, it was completely dark. The rounded shapes of the rocks were outlined against the sky-like backs of the crouching animals. With a shimmer of frost on the surface, beyond them he could hear the soft bubble of the river over stones, and much closer, a faint scuffling noise alerted him to the presence of prey. Firestar's mouth watered as he identified the scent of a mouse. Barely letting his paws touch the ground, he crept up on it and sprang. He hadn't realized how hungry he was until his jaws closed on it, and he finished it in a few ravenous gulps. Feeling better, Firestar sprang up to the top of the rock and found a place where he could sit and look down at the river. The dark water glittered with starlight. The breeze ruffled the surface, buffeting his fur and stirring the leafless forest around him. Firestar turned his gaze upward to Silverpelt. The warriors of StarClan were watching, but they seemed cold and far away in the frosty night. Did they really care about what happened in the forest? Or had Bluestar been right all along, when she raged against them in her private war? For a moment, Firestar caught a glimpse of his former leader's terrible sense of isolation. He could not truly share it, for unlike Bluestar, he had never lost faith in the warriors of his own clan. But he was beginning to understand how she had come to doubt StarClan. So many cats had already died in Tigerstar's fierce struggle for power, and StarClan had not saved them. Firestar wondered if he was being foolish to think that his warrior ancestors would help him now. But without StarClan, how could his clan survive? Lifting his head, he yowled to the glory of Silverpelt. "Show me what I should do! Show me that you're with us!" No answer came from the white fire above. painfully aware of how small and weak he was compared to the sky-spread StarClan. Firestar found a hollow in the rock that was sheltered from the chill breeze. He did not expect to sleep, but he was exhausted, and after a while his eyes closed. He dreamed that he was seated in 4 trees, his senses lulled by the warm air and sweet scents of green leaf. The warriors of StarClan surrounded him on all 4 slopes, as they had done on his visit to Moonstone, when he received the 9 lives of our clan leader. He saw Spotted Leaf and Yellowfang there, and all the warriors who were lost to ThunderClan, as well as others, newly added to the shining ranks, Stonefur and the young apprentice Gorsepaw. In his dream, Firestar sprang to his paws and confronted them. The first time, he did not feel an awe of his warrior ancestors. It seemed as if they had abandoned him and the whole forest to their terrifying fate. "You rule this forest," hissed Firestar, letting all his anger at their betrayal spill out. "You sent the storm on the night of the gathering, so I couldn't tell the clans what Tigerstar had done. You allowed him to bring Scourge into the forest. Why are you doing this to us? Do you want us to be destroyed?" A familiar figure stepped forwards. Bluestar's gray-blue fur shimmered in the starshine, and her eyes were blue fire. "Firestar, you don't understand," she meowed. "StarClan do not rule the forest." Firestar gaped at her, with nothing to say. Was everything wrong, then, that he had learned since he came into the forest as a kitty pet so long ago? "StarClan cares for every cat in the forest," Bluestar continued. "From the blind, helpless kit to the oldest elder lying in the sun. We watch over them. We send omens and dreams to the medicine cats. But the storm was no doing of ours. Scourge and Tigerstar wade through blood to power because that is their nature. We watch," the former leader repeated. "But we do not interfere. If we did, would you truly be free? Firestar, you and every cat have the choice of whether or not to follow the warrior code. You are not the playthings of StarClan." "But..." Firestar tried to interrupt. Bluestar ignored him. "And now we're watching you. You are the cat we have chosen. Firestar, you are the fire who has saved the clan. No warrior of StarClan brought you here. You came of your own accord because you have a warrior spirit and the heart of a true clan cat. Your faith in StarClan will give you the strength you need." As he spoke, a sense of peace crept over Firestar. He felt as though Bluestar's strength and the strength of all the warriors of StarClan were flowing into him. Whatever happened when his clan met BloodClan in battle, Firestar knew StarClan had not abandoned him. Bluestar rested her muzzle on his head, just as she had done the day she had made him a warrior. At her touch, the pale fire of the assembled warriors began to fade, and Firestar sank into the warm darkness of deep sleep. When he opened his eyes, it was to see the first light of dawn staining the sky. Firestar rose and stretched, the memory of his dream filling his paws with energy. It was a duty as leader to save his clan. And with the strength of StarClan to help him, he would find a way to do it. That is the end of chapter 25 and the final chapter for the stream. There are 5 more chapters for the book, but that will be next Friday. Ironically, on Friday the 13th. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this stream. And another note, after the last 5 chapters next week, we are going to be doing another hand cam stream because I had put a vote into my Discord and they all said, hey, we want more hand cam stream. So the following Friday after next week, we will have a hand cam stream. Thank you for the stretch, Holy. We're almost done with this book and this portion of the series of the Warriors Cats. I hope you guys had a good night. If anyone has any raid suggestions before I go, feel free. I'll quickly look and see if I have anyone online that I'm following. Is anyone actually doing ASMR? Oh gosh, boxes. I guess I could raid into box. I don't know. Hang on, let me grab the raid message from my other Twitch. Maybe Haka will realize I'm the same person with that. I still have yet to make a raid message for this channel specifically. Let's see. I'll copy that. There we go. Come on. Highlights, copy. And here we go. Raid message there. I'll go ahead and do Hako since no one has any suggestions. Someone else that's doing ASMR. Anyway, thank you guys for coming by, and I will see you guys next Friday for the last 5 chapters of the book. Bye bye.